Thank you for spending your time with Listen and Imagine. We hope this journey sparked your thoughts and stirred your imagination. Series title The Alien Architects of Ancient Egypt, Part 1, The Mystery of the Pyramids. Opening, spoken with intrigue and weight. Have you ever stood at the foot of the Great Pyramid of Giza? I mean, really stood there, felt its towering presence, looked up at nearly 500 feet of perfectly aligned limestone blocks, and thought to yourself, how? Because here's the truth. The deeper you look into the Great Pyramid, the less sense it makes. This isn't just a tomb. This is something else. A mystery, carved in stone. And for decades, maybe even centuries, a bold question has echoed through alternative history circles, whispered in forbidden libraries, and lately spoken aloud. What if the pyramids weren't built by humans alone? Narrative begins. Curiosity builds. Mainstream archaeology tells us that around 4,500 years ago, Pharaoh Khufu ordered the construction of the Great Pyramid. Using primitive tools, tens of thousands of workers allegedly dragged over 2.5 million limestone and granite blocks, some weighing more than 80 tons, into place with nothing but sleds, ropes, and human sweat. 20 years. That's the number they give us. 20 years to complete one of the most complex and precise structures in human history. Sounds impressive, right? But let's break it down. If the pyramid took 20 years to build, that means placing one massive block every 2.5 minutes, 24 hours a day, 365 a year, nonstop for 2 decades. No errors, no breaks, no weather delays, just precision every single time. Does that sound plausible to you? Contradictions. And the precision, it's uncanny. The base of the Great Pyramid is almost a perfect square, differing by less than an inch over its 756-foot sides. It's aligned almost perfectly to true north, off by just 3/60th of a degree. Some say the accuracy rivals what we can achieve with modern surveying equipment. Even stranger, the entire structure is designed with a level of mathematical knowledge that supposedly didn't exist at the time. The ratio of the pyramid's perimeter to its height equals 2 pi, hinting at a profound understanding of both geometry and Earth's curvature. Are we seriously supposed to believe a Bronze Age civilization calculated this by accident? Or did someone show them? Introduce the alien question subtly. That's where the alien theory creeps in. Not little green men with ray guns, but an advanced intelligence. Someone that arrived on Earth with knowledge far beyond anything humans possessed at the time. You might be thinking, come on, aliens? Really? But remember, just because an idea is uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. And sometimes the truth hides in the places we're too afraid or too conditioned to look. Address conventional explanations. Now, traditional archaeologists push back hard on these ideas. They talk about large workforces, copper chisels, and clever techniques using wooden sleds and water to move the stones. They present models and reenactments. They tell us it's possible. But possible doesn't mean proven. And frankly, a lot of their theories feel like educated guesses held together by duct tape and hope, because here's the kicker. We still don't actually know how the Great Pyramid was built. All we have are theories, and none of them explain everything. Let's bring it to the present. In the 1970s, a Japanese team tried to replicate a scaled-down version of the pyramid using only ancient tools and methods. They failed. They eventually resorted to modern cranes and helicopters to finish the job. And in 1995, Mark Lehner, a leading Egyptologist, attempted a similar project with Nova. Even with bulldozers and professional construction crews, it proved incredibly difficult. If we can't build the pyramid today without heavy machinery and GPS, how did ancient Egyptians do it with copper tools and slave labor? Unless maybe they didn't do it alone. The mystery deepens. Transition to next episode. There's a reason the pyramids have lasted thousands of years. They weren't just built to endure weather and time. They were built to endure scrutiny and still leave us guessing. Each stone is a question, each alignment a riddle, and each chamber a whisper from the past saying, you don't know the full story. But what if we could get closer to the truth? What if hidden in the details, like the marks on the stone, the unexplained construction choices, the strange proportions, there were clues to something otherworldly? In the next episode, we'll dive deeper, because when you take a closer look at the tools that supposedly built the pyramids, things start to get even stranger. And if the tools didn't exist, then what did? Or more hauntingly, who did? Closing line designed to spark curiosity and questions. So tonight, when you look up at the stars, ask yourself, could they be watching us? Or maybe, have they already been here? And left behind something enormous in plain sight. Part 2. Tools too advanced to exist. In Part 1, we questioned the impossible speed, scale, and mathematical precision of the Great Pyramid. We asked, how did ancient Egyptians move and place 80-ton stones with millimeter accuracy 2.5 million times without the help of modern machinery? But what if the real issue isn't how they moved the stones? What if the real mystery is how they shaped them? Because cutting, carving, and fitting these enormous blocks, some made of the hardest stone on Earth, should have been impossible with the tools we're told they had. So tonight, let's take a closer look. Not at the pyramids themselves, but at the hands, the tools, and possibly the minds that built them. Scene setting. According to mainstream Egyptology, the ancient Egyptians primarily used copper chisels, stone hammers, wooden sleds, and ropes to construct the pyramids. Copper, not iron, not steel, copper. Now, if you've ever used copper or even touched a penny, you know it's soft. It bends. It's not meant for battle with granite. And yet they supposedly carved out not just limestone, which is relatively soft, but granite blocks weighing up to 80 tons. Granite, by the way, is 7 times harder than copper. Let me ask you, have you ever tried to cut concrete with a butter knife? That's essentially what they want us to believe. Here's where things get wild. Archaeologists have found marks on granite blocks that resemble high-speed circular saw cuts. Not rough chisel strikes, but smooth, curved, uniform grooves, like something you'd see in a modern factory. There are even drill holes, perfectly cylindrical shafts cut several inches deep into solid granite. Some show spiral grooves consistent with high-speed drilling. So what was doing that? A copper chisel tied to a stick? Because if that's the story, it doesn't add up. Even modern stonecutters agree you need diamond-tipped tools or industrial saws to make cuts like that, especially with the kind of precision found inside the king's chamber. So either the Egyptians had access to technology that vanished without a trace, or someone else brought it to them. Bring in experiments. Let's talk experimentation. In the late 1990s, Egyptologist Denis Stocks attempted to recreate ancient stone cutting using copper tools and sand as an abrasive. He worked with a team under modern conditions using the best available resources. And the results? They managed to scratch the surface slowly, unevenly, with intense labor, not even close to what's found on the actual pyramid blocks. So if it takes weeks to barely mark the stone, how did they shape thousands of blocks with near identical cuts? Even when we try to do it ourselves, we fail. So the question is no longer, how did the ancient Egyptians do it? The real question is, did they even do it at all? Mystery deepens. Where are the tools? Now here's something even more puzzling. Where are the tools? We've uncovered tombs, homes, workshops, even makeup kits from ancient Egypt, but not a single tool capable of cutting granite like what we see at Giza. Not one high-powered saw, not one heavy-duty drill. Nothing. It's as if the tools just vanished or were taken, or perhaps they were never meant to be left behind. Exploring ancient accounts and implications. What if we turn to ancient legends, not for proof but for perspective? The Egyptians themselves claimed they didn't build the pyramids alone. They said they were inspired, guided by the gods. But who were these gods? Beings who came from the sky, who brought light, knowledge, and divine power. Myth? Maybe. But maybe myth is just a memory written in poetry. Could it be that those gods weren't gods at all, but advanced beings? Travelers, engineers of the cosmos? Because if someone or something came here with tools we can barely understand even today, maybe it wouldn't leave those tools lying around. Maybe it would take them back, or hide them where we'd never think to look. Scientific perspective, what it would take. Let's get technical for a moment. To cut granite the way it appears in Giza, a modern contractor would need a diamond-tipped saw blade, industrial-level rotary drills, constant water cooling, even pressure control, powered generators, and GPS or laser measuring systems to align blocks with such precision. Yet we're told ancient builders, working in loincloths under the desert sun, just figured it out. Doesn't that feel off? And if our best tools today barely scratch the surface, how did they supposedly carve entire chambers deep inside the pyramid with dead straight tunnels, 90-degree angles, and polished surfaces? You begin to wonder, were these tools even physical? What if the builders had some form of technology we'd call vibrational cutters or sonic energy? Too crazy? Maybe. But remember, 200 years ago, electricity sounded insane. So did space travel. Sometimes science fiction is just science arriving early. Adding mystery, could the tools be alive? Here's a thought. What if the tools weren't just advanced? What if they were alive? Self-aware technology, AI-assisted machines, tools that could learn, adapt, and maybe even decide. Some ancient carvings from other cultures show beings holding what look like futuristic devices, staffs emitting energy or orbs projecting light. Could these have been alien tools, passed down, or misinterpreted by ancient people as magical objects? Did the Egyptians have access, however briefly, to technology that even now we can't recreate? And if so, who gave it to them? Building suspense, leading to next episode. We're not saying aliens built the pyramids with laser beams and UFOs hovering above the Nile, but we are saying this: there's no solid evidence they didn't. And there's a growing pile of evidence suggesting that what we've been taught doesn't explain everything. Maybe the truth is buried under the sand inside forbidden archives or hidden in plain sight. But one thing is certain: someone, whether human or not, had access to knowledge and tools far beyond their time. And that someone left behind more than stone. They left behind questions. And in part 3, we'll look to the sky for answers, because when we examine how the pyramids align, not just with each other, but with the stars above, another mystery begins to unfold. Why did the ancients build their most sacred structures to match the heavens? And more importantly, who taught them how? Closing tease. So next time you see a piece of granite countertop, remember, it takes a diamond blade and modern power tools to cut that smooth edge. And then think about the ancient Egyptians, supposedly doing the same, with copper chisels and rope. Still buying that? Or is something else, something cosmic, chipping away at the story we've been told? Part 3, the stars above, the stones below. You ever stand under a clear night sky and feel like something's watching back? Like the stars aren't just twinkling for beauty, but waiting? There's something about space that pulls at us, makes us look up, makes us wonder. And maybe thousands of years ago, the builders of the Great Pyramid wondered the same thing. But they didn't just look up at the stars, they built toward them, literally. Because the more we study the pyramids, especially those at Giza, the more we realize they weren't just tombs or monuments or even simple tributes to the pharaohs. They were messages written in stone, pointing to the sky. But what were they trying to say? And more importantly, who were they talking to? Let's start with something you might not hear in a high school history class. The 3 pyramids at Giza, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, aren't just randomly placed. They're aligned with almost perfect accuracy along a diagonal axis, slightly off true north by less than 0.06 degrees. That's tighter precision than most modern cities achieve when laying out buildings with laser instruments. But here's where things get crazy. In the 1990s, researchers Robert Bauval and Adrian Gilbert proposed a radical theory. The 3 pyramids don't just align with Earth's geography. They mirror the stars of Orion's belt. Zoom out. Look at a star chart. The 3 stars, Al-Natak, Al-Nalam, and Mintaka, are offset just like the 3 pyramids. And when you overlay the 2 patterns, Giza and Orion, they match almost perfectly. Now ask yourself, why would ancient Egyptians care about the Orion constellation? Because in their mythology, Orion represented Osiris, the god of the afterlife, resurrection, and the stars. Coincidence or something more? The star map hypothesis. Let's push further. The ancient Egyptians believed the soul of the pharaoh didn't just die, it ascended. To where? To the stars, specifically to Orion. Some pyramid texts, carved inside the walls of royal tombs, talk about a stairway to the sky and a ladder to the heavens. And here's the twist. Those texts don't describe metaphor, they describe navigation. What if the pyramids weren't just spiritual tools? What if they were literal star maps? Markers, beacons. What if someone or something told the Egyptians exactly where to build, what to aim for, and why? Because here's another detail. The Great Pyramid isn't just aligned with Orion's belt. Its sides align with the four cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, with near perfect precision. And it does so despite the lack of a compass, satellites, or even the magnetic field maps we use today. How? How did ancient builders living 4,500 years ago align multi-ton structures with an accuracy NASA would envy? And why go to such trouble? Scientific validation and controversy. Let's be fair, not all scientists agree with the Orion correlation theory. Some argue that the match isn't precise enough, that the distances are off, that you could make any shape fit with enough tweaking. But that argument falls apart when you look at more than just Giza, because other ancient structures across the globe also point to the sky. The Mayans, the Incas, the ancient Chinese, the Hopi tribes in North America, all of them built sacred sites aligned with celestial events, solstices, equinoxes, constellations, and many of them somehow also link to Orion. Now wait, are we supposed to believe that all these civilizations, separated by oceans, languages, and millennia, just happen to pick the same star cluster as their cosmic north? Or is it possible that someone was showing them where to look, and maybe even where they came from? Ancient signals or ancient receivers? Let's take a leap here. What if the pyramids weren't just built for the stars? What if they were built by the stars? Or more precisely, by those who came from them? Think about this. What if the Great Pyramid wasn't just a monument? What if it was a kind of cosmic antenna? Its dimensions, height, base, angle, encode mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio. Its layout reflects the Earth's northern hemisphere, scaled down. Its inner shafts point directly to specific stars, including Sirius and Orion's belt, as they appeared in 2500 BCE. That kind of alignment requires not just knowledge of the stars, but knowledge of time. And here's the kicker. The stars no longer match that alignment due to precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis. So whoever built the pyramid wasn't just mapping the sky. They were locking it to a very specific moment, like a time capsule or a timestamp. Now, why would anyone do that? Unless they wanted us to know when they came. What modern astronomy says, modern astronomers confirm around 10,500 BCE, Orion's belt lined up exactly above the Giza layout on the horizon. That's over 7,000 years before the pyramids were officially built. So either the builders were referencing something from the distant past, or the structures are much older than we think. Now that idea alone could upend everything we know about human civilization. But what if there's a third option? What if the builders weren't human at all? Tying in other cultures, universal sky watching. Let's not forget, ancient sky watching wasn't unique to Egypt. The Dogon tribe in Mali, an oral culture with no telescopes, somehow knew about Sirius B, a white dwarf star invisible to the naked eye. They described its orbit, density, and even its position long before modern astronomers discovered it in the 19th century. They said this knowledge came from the Namo, sky beings who arrived in a spinning fiery vessel. So ask yourself, why are ancient civilizations all over the world telling the same story? Beings from the stars, messages written in stone, structures aligned with constellations. Is it really all myth? Or are we staring at ancient data points scattered across the Earth, all pointing in the same direction? Setting up part 4, the energy connection. So what do we do with all this? The pyramid's shape, the star alignments, the impossible precision, it all points to something greater, something intentional, something interstellar. But we're still missing a piece. Because if the pyramids were star maps, or messages, or even machines, then what exactly were they built to do? Were they passive monuments, or active devices? Could they have transmitted energy, or received it? In part 4, we go deeper. Because a growing number of researchers believe the Great Pyramid isn't just a marvel of stone, it might be one of the oldest and most powerful energy generators on the planet. And if that's true, then maybe the real secret of the pyramids isn't who built them, it's what they were used for. Part 4, the pyramid power plant theory. Opening dramatic and mysterious tone. We've looked at the stars, we've decoded the alignments, we've followed the clues hidden in stone, but what if we've been asking the wrong question all along? Maybe the pyramids weren't just pointing to something. Maybe they were doing something. Think about it. Why would a civilization spend decades, maybe longer, dragging 2.3 million limestone blocks weighing up to 80 tons each to build something with no clear practical use? No royal mummy has ever been found inside the Great Pyramid. No hieroglyphics decorate its inner walls. No treasure, no sarcophagus, just chambers, shafts, and silence, unless it wasn't a tomb at all. What if the Great Pyramid of Giza wasn't just a message to the gods? What if it was a machine? Introducing the power plant hypothesis. In 1998, engineer and researcher Christopher Dunn published a controversial book, The Giza Power Plant. His theory that the Great Pyramid was not a tomb, not a temple, but a technological device, a power plant. He claimed the pyramid was capable of generating wireless harmonic energy, not just symbolic energy, but real, usable power. Sounds wild? Let's break it down. Dunn approached the pyramid not as an archaeologist, but as a machinist, someone trained in precision engineering, and what he found was anything but primitive. The precision problem: the Great Pyramid's internal structures, like the King's Chamber, are cut from solid granite blocks so exact, Dunn says the tolerances match modern aerospace engineering. These blocks aren't just close together, they're microscopically aligned. Think about that. 40,500 years ago, allegedly with copper chisels and wooden sleds, these builders created a structure with tighter tolerances than a modern jet engine. Does that make sense? Or does it sound like they had tools or knowledge far beyond what history says they possessed? And if the precision wasn't for decoration, could it have served a functional purpose? Inner design? A power system? Let's walk through the core of Dunn's theory. He suggests the pyramid worked as a harmonic resonance device. Here's how. The Queen's Chamber, deep within the pyramid, was filled with hydrated salts, chemicals like zinc chloride and hydrochloric acid. When mixed, these substances would react, creating a controlled chemical reaction. This reaction would produce hydrogen gas. That gas would rise through the Grand Gallery and into the King's Chamber, which contains mysterious granite relieving chambers and massive resonance cavities. Now stay with me. Granite contains quartz crystals, and quartz resonates when vibrated. It's the same principle used in modern watches and electronics. If sound or vibration was introduced from Earth's natural seismic activity, or possibly even intentional tuning, it could excite the quartz, causing the chamber to vibrate. Vibration leads to resonance, and resonance, in the presence of hydrogen, could produce microwave energy. Wireless, directional power. A literal power plant designed 4,500 years ago. Tesla and the pyramid. Now here's where it gets eerily interesting. Nikola Tesla, the father of wireless energy, believed the Earth itself could be used as a conductor. He theorized that energy could be drawn from natural vibrations in the planet, amplified, and transmitted wirelessly to distant receivers. Sound familiar? Tesla even built a structure, the Wardenclyffe Tower, designed to do exactly that. It was cylindrical, had a large central shaft, was placed on a specific latitude, just like the pyramid. In fact, the Great Pyramid is located at the exact geographical center of all the Earth's landmass. Coincidence? Or intentional placement? Was the pyramid built to tap into the Earth's natural energy field? Were the ancients trying to do what Tesla would try again thousands of years later, or maybe he was just rebuilding what was already done? Evidence from the structure itself. The pyramid contains no soot marks, despite deep interior chambers. If torches were used for light, as mainstream archaeologists claim, where's the residue? Some theorists propose the pyramid used cold plasma light, similar to modern-day fluorescent lighting, powered by internal energy systems. Also, the Great Pyramid once had an outer casing of white Tura limestone, so polished it reflected sunlight like a mirror. Imagine a gleaming, pyramid-shaped beacon visible for miles. But it wasn't just for looks. Tura limestone is an excellent electrical insulator. The pyramid's core is made of conductive granite, and the underground base is laid over aquifers, flowing water that creates electric potential. So you've got an insulator, a conductor, a liquid medium, and possible hydrogen fuel. This isn't a monument. It's a circuit. Of course, mainstream Egyptologists reject the power plant theory. They argue there's no physical evidence of wires, lights, or machinery. But here's the irony. A power plant that uses wireless energy wouldn't leave wires behind, and an ancient machine, made mostly of stone, wouldn't look like modern generators. They say there's no documentation, but if this was lost knowledge or alien technology, maybe there wasn't any documentation. Maybe it was never meant for human eyes, or maybe the records were destroyed, hidden, buried. We've only explored a small percentage of Egypt's underground chambers. What else is down there? What's been deliberately kept from us? Other pyramids or power plants? Here's another clue. The pyramid at Abu Rawash, once thought to be ruined, may have been intentionally dismantled. Its remaining parts show precision stonework beyond what copper tools could achieve. And around the world, in China, Peru, and Bosnia, pyramidal structures have been found, aligned with the stars, often built on Earth energy lines, what some call ley lines. Were these global energy nodes a planetary network of ancient technology? And if so, who built it? So here we are. A monument that's not a tomb. A machine with no gears. A signal from the past that hums with impossible precision. Was the Great Pyramid really a tomb for a dead king? Or was it a living machine, once pulsing with power? A power source that connected Earth to the stars? And if so, where did that knowledge come from? Did the ancient Egyptians discover something we've long forgotten? Or did someone give it to them? In part 5, we go deeper underground, into the secret chambers beneath the Sphinx and the pyramid itself. What was buried below? And what happened to the technology that once lit the skies of ancient Egypt? Part 5, Secrets Beneath the Sands. Opening it suspenseful. Imagine this. You're standing before the Great Sphinx, silent, majestic, ageless. Its paws stretched wide, its gaze fixed on eternity, as if guarding something. But guarding what exactly? What lies beneath those ancient stones, and why, for decades, has the Egyptian government blocked full-scale excavations under the Sphinx? What are they trying to keep hidden? Welcome to part 5 of our journey. It's time to go underground. Let's begin with a simple question. Why would anyone build a massive monument like the Sphinx and then leave the space beneath it untouched? Spoiler alert, they didn't. In 1993, geophysicist Thomas Dobecki and seismologist John Anthony West conducted seismic testing around the Sphinx. Their ground-penetrating radar revealed anomalies, rectangular voids, cavities, some directly beneath the Sphinx's paws, others to the side, buried chambers aligned with the ancient monument. West described them as subterranean rooms, rooms that do not correspond to any known structure in Egyptian archaeology, rooms that should not be there. So what are they? And why hasn't the Egyptian Antiquities Authority let anyone open them? Here's where it gets even stranger. In the 1930s, a man named Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, made a bold prediction. He claimed that a hall of records was buried under the Sphinx, a chamber containing ancient writings, possibly from Atlantis. He said the hall would one day be discovered and that it would reveal the true origin of humanity. Cayce died in 1945. 50 years later, West and Dobecki's seismic data seemed to confirm a chamber in the exact spot Cayce described. Coincidence? Or was he right? Could the Sphinx be guarding not just stone, but secrets and technology from a lost world? Ancient texts talk texts. Ancient Egyptian writings, like the Edfu temple texts, describe a time before Egypt, a first time known as Zep Tepi, a golden age when gods walked the earth and advanced knowledge was passed down to early humans. According to legend, these gods came from the sky. After a great catastrophe, their knowledge was hidden, preserved for a future age. Does that sound like mythology or memory? Is it possible that what we call gods were actually beings from beyond our planet, and that beneath the sand lie the proofs of their interaction? Advanced water erosion? Let's rewind to something we touched in part 2, the erosion on the Sphinx. Mainstream scholars say it's from sand and wind, but geologist Dr. Robert Schoch presented strong evidence that the back and sides of the Sphinx show water erosion, the kind caused by heavy rainfall. Problem is, the last time Egypt had kind of rain was around 10,000 BCE. That would make the Sphinx at least 7,000 years older than the pyramids. So either mainstream history is off by thousands of years, there was a highly advanced pre-dynastic civilization, or the structure, or part of it, predates human civilization itself. And if that's true, who built the Sphinx? Tunnels beneath Giza. In 2009, Egyptian archaeologist Dr. Zahi Hawass, famously skeptical of alternative theories, admitted something surprising. He confirmed the existence of a system of tunnels beneath the Giza Plateau. In an interview, he mentioned sealed shafts and mysterious passageways, some flooded, others filled with debris. But public access? Denied. Independent research? Blocked. Whenever scientists request access to these areas, they're told it's for protection of the monuments. But what if it's really protection of secrets? What lies beneath those tunnels? Why are foreign researchers routinely denied permits to explore them? And what is the Egyptian government afraid the world might find? Strange artifacts and anomalies. Let's shift focus to the items found near the Sphinx, but quickly removed from public eye. Among them, a small metallic sphere found embedded in the rock wall near the Sphinx's rear. Composition: unknown. Blackened crystalline fragments allegedly discovered in a sealed box near the Sphinx temple, and even rumors of non-human remains quickly confiscated by unnamed authorities. Officially, none of this is confirmed, but leaked photos from workers on restoration teams suggest that something unusual is being kept out of sight. Something not made by human hands. The Sphinx's missing head? Have you ever noticed the disproportion between the Sphinx's head and body? Many researchers have. They argue that the current head, likely a pharaoh's likeness, is too small for the massive lion-shaped body. The theory? The head was recarved. Originally, the Sphinx may have had the head of a lion or something else entirely. And if it was changed, who changed it and why? Was it an effort to hide the truth, to erase the past and make it fit the official story, or to cover up a non-human origin? A global cover-up? Here's the question no one wants to ask. Is there a global effort to hide the true origins of the pyramids and the Sphinx? The Egyptian authorities refuse to release excavation reports. Western archaeologists who ask too many questions are often blacklisted. Satellite imaging shows potential underground structures, but the data is withheld. Why? Is it just about preserving Egypt's narrative, or is something much bigger being hidden? Something that, if revealed, could change everything we know about history, human origins, and even life beyond Earth. The sands of Egypt conceal more than time. They hide doorways, tunnels, chambers, knowledge, and perhaps something not of this earth. The question is no longer if something lies beneath the Sphinx. It's, what is it? Why is it hidden? And who put it there? In Part 6, we follow the path of lost technology, clues embedded in ancient texts, overlooked hieroglyphs, and forbidden translations. What tools did the ancient builders really use? And did those tools come from the stars? Part 6, Lost Technology and Alien Tools. Opening, engaging, mysterious tone. Let's pause for a second. If we believe the ancient Egyptians built the pyramids, then how did they do it? No iron tools, no wheels, no advanced machines, and yet they moved 2.5-ton stones across miles of desert, placed them with laser-like precision, and aligned entire structures to the stars. Even with modern cranes, engineers admit it would be impossible to replicate the Great Pyramid today, not with the same materials, precision, and alignment. So, here's the question. Did the builders have access to lost technology or something not human? Let's dig deeper. The impossible precision. Start with the facts. The base of the Great Pyramid is perfectly level within less than half an inch. The corners are aligned almost exactly with the cardinal directions, north, south, east, west. The internal passages and shafts are cut through solid limestone, not just with skill, but with machine-like smoothness. According to Egyptologists, the builders used copper chisels and stone hammers. But copper is softer than limestone. Try carving solid rock with copper. You won't get far. In fact, modern masons and sculptors tested it, and the result? It doesn't work. So then what did they use? Some believe it was a lost tool. Others, something else entirely. Here's where it gets weird. Ancient legends from Egypt to Tibet speak of sound being used to move massive stones. Tibetan monks told explorers they could levitate rocks using chanting and horns. Egyptian reliefs depict priests holding rods or tuning forks aimed at objects. Could it be metaphor? Or could sound have been a tool? Enter the theory of acoustic levitation, the idea that intense sound frequencies can manipulate matter. In labs today, scientists have successfully levitated small objects using ultrasonic waves. Now imagine a civilization with far greater mastery of sound. Could the Great Pyramid itself have been a resonant chamber? Its inner architecture, The king's chamber, the shafts, the granite box could all be part of a sonic machine tuned to specific frequencies. Not just a tomb, but a device, the Baghdad battery and piezoelectricity. Let's jump over to ancient Mesopotamia for a second. In Iraq, archaeologists discovered clay jars with copper cylinders and iron rods inside. The dating, over 2,000 years old. Some believe these were primitive batteries, the so-called Baghdad batteries. If basic electricity was known in the ancient world, what else might have existed? Consider this. The Great Pyramid is made largely of limestone and granite. Granite contains quartz, which is a piezoelectric material, meaning it can generate electricity under pressure. The air shafts and chambers may not just be symbolic, but functional. Could the pyramid have been an energy generator? A kind of wireless power plant? If so, where did the knowledge come from? Who, or what, taught the ancients how to harness Earth's natural frequencies? Evidence of machine cutting. Let's talk about tool marks. In several Egyptian sites, like the unfinished obelisk in Aswan, there are cut marks on granite walls that don't resemble chisel work. Instead, they look like something rotating, almost like modern drills or saws. Engineer Christopher Dunn, who studied these patterns, found grooves that suggest high-speed machinery, possibly diamond-tipped or ultrasonic. In his book, The Giza Power Plant, Dunn argues that ancient Egyptians didn't just build, they engineered with precision we still can't explain. And again, the mainstream shrugs. Coincidence, erosion, imagination. But can so many signs of advanced tooling be ignored? Are we refusing to see the truth? The star map theory and high knowledge. Let's return to a theme we saw in part 3, the Orion alignment. The pyramids aren't just placed randomly, they mirror the belt stars of Orion. But to do that, you'd need knowledge of star positions from thousands of years ago, a deep understanding of astronomy and geometry, and a system to lay it all out on massive stone architecture. Where did that knowledge come from? Egyptologists claim it was developed gradually. But remember, ancient Egypt seems to have started at its peak, then declined. No records show a slow build-up to this advanced skill. It's like someone just handed them the blueprint, a cosmic one. From the sky gods, from extraterrestrial teachers, reliefs of alien tools. At the Temple of Hathor in Dendera, there's a mysterious relief often referred to as the Dendera Light. It depicts a long, bulb-shaped object with a snake inside, connected to what looks like a power source. Mainstream says it's symbolic. Others say it looks exactly like an ancient electrical device. Even more bizarre, at Abydos Temple, there are carvings that resemble a helicopter, a modern plane, a submarine. Are these coincidences? Pareidolia? Or remnants of technology once seen then forgotten or hidden? Why the secrecy? Let's revisit a critical question. Why isn't the academic world investigating these anomalies seriously? Why are engineers and non-archaeologists ridiculed for asking valid questions? Is it because the answers challenge everything we know about human history? Is it because if we admit ancient people had advanced tools we can't replicate today, we have to admit that we're missing a major piece of the puzzle? And maybe, just maybe, that piece didn't come from Earth. So let's return to the start. The pyramids rise from the desert like frozen echoes of another world. Their stones whisper stories of tools lost, knowledge buried, and minds that may not have been human. Were the ancients guided by beings from beyond the stars? Did they inherit technology we can't yet comprehend? And if so, where did that technology go? In Part 7, we dive into forbidden texts and erased records, evidence that early pharaohs tried to suppress the truth about who really built the pyramids and why. Stay curious and keep asking, what are they hiding? Part 7, Erased Records and the Pharaoh's Secrets. Opening, mysterious, questioning tone. History, they say, is written by the victors. But sometimes it's not written at all. Sometimes it's scrubbed, buried, or deliberately erased. That's exactly what we see when we peer into the earliest records of ancient Egypt. There are gaps, enormous, unsettling gaps, missing years, lost kings, forgotten reigns. So ask yourself, why would one of the most literate ancient civilizations in history, a culture that carved stories into stone, suddenly go silent? What was so dangerous, so unthinkable that it had to be wiped clean? And more importantly, who ordered the silence? The strange case of the first pharaohs. Let's talk about Egypt's first dynasty. We're told that history begins with a king named Narmer, who unified Upper and Lower Egypt around 3100 BC. He's shown wearing both crowns, one for the north, one for the south, and he's portrayed as a strong, almost divine ruler. But here's the strange part. Before Narmer, there's almost nothing in the record, just vague references to those who came before. The Egyptians themselves referred to them as the Shemsu Hor, the followers of Horus. Who were they? The ancient texts claim these mysterious beings ruled Egypt for thousands of years before the pharaohs, a time they called the Zep Tepi, or first time. And how long did they rule? Some ancient king lists, like the Turin Royal Canon, claim they reigned for thousands, even tens of thousands of years. But these lists are broken, torn. Sections are missing, accident or censorship. Let's get even more specific. In temples like Abydos, Karnak, and Luxor, there are long cartouches, royal name rings, listing the pharaohs in order. But some names are scratched out, completely erased. In some cases, entire dynasties are skipped over. One of the most famous examples, Akhenaten, the heretic king. His name was removed from monuments, his statues destroyed, his legacy intentionally wiped out. Why? Because Akhenaten changed everything. He shifted Egypt from polytheism to monotheism, worshipping a mysterious solar disk called Aten. Some believe Aten wasn't a god, but a craft, a machine in the sky. Could Akhenaten have been trying to revive ancient alien knowledge? Was he silenced because he came too close to the truth? The mystery of the pyramid texts. Here's another curious detail. The pyramid texts, the oldest known religious writings on Earth, don't appear in the Great Pyramid of Khufu. They show up much later, in smaller pyramids from the 5th and 6th dynasties. Why? Why would the most iconic and supposedly first pyramid have no inscriptions at all? No prayers, no curses, no symbols? Is it because it wasn't meant to be a tomb, or because what was once there was removed? The texts we do have, carved in later pyramids, speak of star journeys, resurrection through the heavens, and gods descending from the sky. Not in vague metaphors, but in literal descriptions. Flight, ascension, beings from above. Were these spiritual beliefs or memories of visitors and the technology they brought with them? Let's not forget, the Great Pyramid is incomplete. Its capstone is missing, gone. And no one knows exactly what it looked like or what it was made of. Was it gold, as some suggest, or something more advanced? What if it wasn't decorative, but functional? If the pyramid was some kind of energy machine or star portal, as theorists suggest, the capstone might have been the key. Without it, the machine is dead. And what better way to hide the truth than to remove the most important piece? The ancient Egyptians were masters of symbolism. So the missing capstone may symbolize more than just physical loss. It could represent the loss of knowledge, a knowledge someone didn't want us to have. Here's where it gets deeper. Ancient texts like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and the Book of the Dead describe hidden chambers beneath the pyramids. Secret libraries, rooms of light, knowledge stored for future generations. And guess what? In 2017, scientists used cosmic ray scans to detect a massive hidden void inside the Great Pyramid, roughly the size of a 747 jet. And to this day, no one has entered it. Why not? Why are we not drilling or excavating with urgency? What are we afraid of finding? Or rather, what does someone already know is in there? Let's step outside for a moment, to the Great Sphinx. Carved from a single piece of limestone, it's weathered and cracked. But here's the issue. The erosion patterns on the Sphinx suggest heavy water damage. That would place its age thousands of years before the Sahara was desert, possibly as far back as 10,000 BC. Mainstream Egyptologists dismiss this, but geologists like Dr. Robert Schoch disagree. If true, the Sphinx predates dynastic Egypt and everything we know about when civilization began. Who built it? The same beings who constructed the pyramids? If so, why was its head clearly recarved? What was the original head? A lion or something not quite human? So now we face a chilling question. If the earliest records of Egypt were erased, if the truth was scratched out, if certain rulers were buried in silence, then what story were they trying to hide? A story of ancient gods or ancient visitors? Were the pharaohs simply kings or gatekeepers of alien knowledge? And if someone went to such lengths to bury the past, what are they still hiding today? In Part 8, we'll follow the trail of secrets beyond Egypt into South America and ancient Mesopotamia to see if these visitors left similar fingerprints across the world. Because if aliens built the pyramids, they didn't stop there. They left a global legacy. Part 8, Global Connections and Alien Blueprints. Opening, engaging, and thought-provoking. What if I told you the Great Pyramid of Giza wasn't unique? That across continents, oceans, and time, long before modern civilization, other cultures were building eerily similar structures. Massive megaliths, pyramids aligned with the stars, ancient cities laid out with a precision that rivals our best satellite technology, and many of these cultures had no known contact with one another, yet they all seem to be working off the same blueprint. So the question is, who gave them the plans? Was it coincidence, or were these civilizations tapping into something or someone far more advanced than we've ever imagined? The pyramids of Mesoamerica. Let's begin in Mexico. At Teotihuacan, just outside modern-day Mexico City, stands the Pyramid of the Sun. It's nearly the same base area as the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's aligned to celestial bodies, and it was built without wheels, without iron tools, without draft animals. Sound familiar? But here's where things get strange. The layout of Teotihuacan mirrors the Orion's Belt star formation, just like the pyramids at Giza. Same alignment, same shape, same celestial symbolism, but the two cultures were separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years. And yet they chose the exact same constellation as their guide. Why? What was it about Orion's Belt that was so important? Could it be that this constellation was more than just a symbol? Was it a marker, a home, or a destination? The Nazca Lines, messages from the ground. Head south and you'll find the Nazca Lines in Peru, gigantic geoglyphs etched into the desert floor, so large you can only truly see them from the sky. Spiders, monkeys, hummingbirds, astronaut-like figures with bulbous heads. They weren't roads, they weren't trails, they were messages. But for who? Because let's be honest, who were the Nazca drawing for if no one could see them from the ground? It's as if they were trying to communicate upward, to beings in the sky. And the designs aren't just images, they include perfect geometric shapes, some with magnetic anomalies that confuse compasses. Were they landing strips, navigational codes, or perhaps a welcome mat for visitors from above? Now, giants of Easter Island. Now sail thousands of miles west, deep into the Pacific Ocean. You'll arrive at Easter Island, home of the Moai, massive stone heads standing silently, watching the horizon. But here's the kicker. Many of these heads are actually full-bodied statues buried deep underground. Some weigh over 80 tons. The islanders say the statues walked into place. Archaeologists scoff. They suggest primitive sledges and ropes. But even with modern cranes, replicating the Moai's placement is incredibly difficult. Why did they go to such extreme effort? What did the Moai represent? Many point to their large heads and elongated skulls, not unlike depictions of ancient gods and extraterrestrials found elsewhere. Were they mimicking someone or something they had seen? Göbekli Tepe, the site that shouldn't exist. Now, journey to Turkey, to a site that shattered everything we thought we knew about civilization. Göbekli Tepe. Discovered in the 1990s, it dates back to at least 9600 BC. That's twice as old as the pyramids. It features enormous T-shaped pillars weighing up to 50 tons, arranged in perfect circles, covered with intricate carvings. This was built before agriculture, before cities, before written language, in other words, by hunter-gatherers. But how? Who taught them how to quarry, transport, and arrange megaliths with such engineering precision? Who gave them this astronomical knowledge, and why, after building it, did they bury it? It's as if someone wanted to preserve it for a future time, or hide it from prying eyes. Megalithic similarities across the globe. Let's connect the dots. Pyramids in Egypt, Mexico, and China share the same proportions and alignments. Megaliths in Baalbek, Lebanon feature single stones weighing over 1,000 tons. No known ancient tool could have moved them. In Pumapunku, Bolivia, stone blocks are cut with machine-like precision, featuring interlocking designs and perfect right angles. In Angkor Wat, Cambodia, the temple complex is aligned with constellations, built with such accuracy that its construction would challenge us even today. Different continents, different cultures, yet the same fingerprints. Advanced knowledge. Impossible engineering, astronomical precision. Did these civilizations all stumble upon the same techniques? Or were they taught? And if they were taught, by who? Ancient astronaut theory, a global visit. This brings us back to the ancient astronaut theory, the idea that alien beings visited Earth in the distant past, guiding early humans with knowledge far beyond their time. Many believe these beings didn't just land once, but visited multiple regions, multiple cultures, and shared a universal message, perhaps even a global project. What if the pyramids, temples, megaliths, and sacred sites across the world are parts of a puzzle? What if Earth was being mapped, organized, and engineered for a purpose, one we still don't fully understand? Were the ancient gods actually visitors? And were these global monuments left as a network, a signal, or even a warning? Mainstream archaeology dismisses these ideas as pseudoscience, but the problem is they can't explain the evidence. They tell us civilizations developed independently, without contact, but can't explain how the same architectural styles and mythologies show up on opposite sides of the globe. They tell us ancient people were brilliant, resourceful, but can't show us how they moved 100-ton stones without wheels, pulleys, or metal tools. And when new sites challenge the timeline, like Göbekli Tepe or sunken cities off the coast of India, they're ignored, ridiculed, or buried. Why? Is it pride? Or something deeper? Is our history being controlled because the truth is too disruptive? So here we are, from Giza to Teotihuacan, Nazca to Easter Island, Turkey to Cambodia, civilizations with no known contact are building the same structures, following the stars, using impossible methods, leaving behind riddles in stone. If they weren't working together, then maybe they weren't the real architects. Maybe they were following instructions, ancient instructions, alien blueprints. But if that's true, what was the goal? Were these monuments meant to guide us, or to prepare Earth for something else? Something that's still to come? In Part 9, we'll explore the symbolism hidden in these ancient sites, specifically the recurring serpent, winged beings, and sun disks found in artwork around the globe. Because the clues may not just lie in stone, but in myth, ritual, and memory. And what those symbols reveal might shake the very foundation of our beliefs. Part 9, the symbols of the sky gods. Intriguing and conversational. By now, we've traveled across continents, examined impossible structures, and raised one unsettling possibility: that ancient civilizations didn't build their wonders alone, that they had help from above. But here's a twist most people overlook. These ancient cultures didn't just leave behind stones. They left stories, symbols, carvings, myths. And if you look closely, a strange pattern emerges, one that appears again and again in places that supposedly never knew each other. Winged beings descending from the sky, serpents with divine wisdom, discs glowing like the sun. Ask yourself, why are the same mysterious symbols carved into temples, painted on walls, and told in myths, from Egypt to Mesopotamia to the jungles of Mesoamerica? Coincidence? Or is this humanity's forgotten collective memory of visitors who once walked among us? The winged gods across cultures. Let's start with one of the most prominent symbols, the winged figure. In Mesopotamia, the god Ashur is depicted flying within a winged disk. In Egypt, the sun disk is flanked by wings and often associated with Ra, the solar deity. In Persia, the Faravahar, a winged being with a human figure, is one of the oldest and most enduring symbols. And in Mesoamerica, the feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl is described as descending from the heavens, bringing knowledge and agriculture. Different lands, different names, but the same imagery. Beings from the sky, often shown with wings or flying discs, descending to teach, to rule, or to warn. But why wings? Why flight? Were these depictions literal rather than symbolic? Were our ancestors drawing what they actually saw, beings who came from the skies, in vehicles they didn't understand? And if so, where did they go? Next up, the serpent. The serpent. Throughout the ancient world, snakes aren't just feared, they're revered. In Egypt, the cobra is a symbol of divine protection and royal power. Pharaohs wore them on their crowns. In India, the Naga are serpent deities associated with wisdom and immortality. In Mesoamerica, as mentioned, Quetzalcoatl is the feathered serpent god who came from the stars. And in China, dragons, often serpentine in form, are seen as wise, benevolent, and celestial in origin. Why would so many cultures choose a serpent to represent wisdom, power, or even divine contact? Could it be that the serpent wasn't just an animal, but a symbol passed down, perhaps by the same source, a universal code or a metaphor for DNA itself, the double helix, the serpent coiled in our very cells? Now that's a chilling thought. Sun disks and halos more than light. Another recurring image, the sun disk or halo behind the heads of gods, saints, and rulers. We see it in Egyptian hieroglyphs above Horus and Ra. In Christian art, angels and saints glow with golden halos. In Buddhist and Hindu traditions, enlightened beings radiate with circular light. But here's the question. Why does divinity always shine? Were these literal light-emitting beings? Or was this a way for early humans to represent a technology they couldn't explain? Think about it. If you saw a being descend from the sky, glowing with light, surrounded by sound or heat, how would you describe it? Maybe you'd say they shone like the sun, or wore the sun as a crown. And here's the weird part. Many ancient carvings show these discs with rays coming off them, sometimes even antennae-like extensions, symbolic art or attempts to capture something real. It's easy to dismiss these stories as just that, stories. But what if myths are just history wrapped in metaphor? When ancient texts speak of gods descending in chariots of fire, or beings with thunderous voices, or men who came from the stars, is that poetry or memory? We're told not to take these tales literally, but here's the strange truth. The same stories echo across cultures that were oceans apart. Sky gods, cosmic battles, forbidden knowledge, celestial punishment. Take the story of the Great Flood. It appears in the Bible, Noah's Ark, Sumerian texts, Utnapishtim, Hindu scriptures, Manu's Ark, Mesoamerican tales of water gods resetting the earth. Was it just a myth or a memory of a real global catastrophe and the beings who helped certain humans survive? Are symbols a language? Here's a thought. What if the symbols weren't just religious or cultural? What if they were a language, a set of universal signs left behind to connect the dots? Think about how we send probes into space with gold discs, etched with images and symbols meant to communicate with anyone, anywhere. What if ancient aliens did the same here on Earth? What if the serpent, the winged disc, the glowing halo, they weren't decorations, they were instructions or reminders of something we were supposed to remember, or maybe something we were supposed to prepare for? Why the consistency? This is where things get chilling, because if all of this was invented independently, then the consistency is impossible to explain. Why do cultures thousands of miles and centuries apart depict the same types of beings, tell the same types of stories, use the same celestial symbols? And here's the even deeper question. If this was all myth, why does it feel so familiar? Why does part of us recognize these symbols, even if we can't explain why? So now we're left with a haunting picture. Civilizations building the same structures, telling the same stories, worshiping the same types of beings, and using the same symbols of flight, light, and serpents. Either humanity is the greatest group of synchronized storytellers in the universe, or we're all remembering something real, something buried in our history, or maybe even our DNA. So what does it all mean? Were the gods of old simply visitors in disguise? Were the ancient symbols we still see today reminders of a forgotten truth, or are they part of an ongoing plan, one that's still unfolding? In part 10, we'll bring it all together. The monuments, the myths, the symbols, the science. And we'll ask the final question, what if they never left? Part 10, what if they never left? We've followed the trail of stone and starlight. We've walked through ancient chambers, read forbidden glyphs, and stared up at the night sky wondering who built the pyramids. Not just how, but why, and for whom. In this final chapter, we connect the dots, the impossible architecture, the cosmic alignments, the recurring myths, and the shared symbols across civilizations. We ask the question most people don't dare say out loud. What if the beings who helped build the pyramids never actually left? What if they're still here, watching, guiding, or waiting? Ancient blueprints or future maps. Let's revisit the pyramids, not as tombs, but as machines. Machines that encode mathematical constants, astronomical knowledge, and even planetary distances. The Great Pyramid aligns almost perfectly with the cardinal directions. Its dimensions reflect the proportions of Earth's curvature and polar radius. Its position corresponds with the speed of light, down to the ninth decimal when measured in meters per second, a unit supposedly unknown to the ancients. Coincidence? Or was it meant for a future generation that would understand once we reached a certain level of awareness? Were these structures not messages to the past, but messages to the future? To us, UFOs and modern sightings. Echoes of the builders. Let's fast forward thousands of years to 1947, Roswell, the first modern UFO crash. Then 1952, UFOs fly over Washington, D.C. and even show up on radar, and then hundreds of sightings worldwide. Craft with no visible propulsion, light speed maneuvers, zero sound, zero heat. The U.S. Navy releases videos in 2017 confirming these phenomena. The government calls them UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, not dismissing them, but acknowledging them. And some of the footage shows craft moving in ways that defy known physics. Technology that's not just ahead of us, but perhaps ancient. Could these be the same beings that flew over Egypt thousands of years ago? The same ones the ancients called gods, the Watchers. In ancient Mesopotamian texts, there's mention of the Watchers, celestial beings sent to observe humanity. They watched, but then they intervened, taught humans knowledge, technology, and then they were punished. In Genesis 6, verse 4, they're called Nephilim, sons of gods who came to earth and laid with women, creating a hybrid race. Myth, or ancient extraterrestrial contact. Modern surveillance systems, satellites, drones, cameras can now watch all of humanity from orbit. Funny, isn't it? We've become the Watchers ourselves, but maybe we didn't invent this concept. Maybe we inherited it. And maybe we're being watched, even now. Let's look inward. Inside your cells lies DNA, a coded sequence more complex than anything humans have ever created. And yet it operates flawlessly, a self-replicating language, a blueprint of life. Scientists like Francis Crick, co-discoverer of DNA, once speculated that life may have been seeded here by an intelligent species, not born, placed. A concept called panspermia. But what if it wasn't just basic life? What if humanity itself was engineered? What if the beings who helped build the pyramids also helped build us? And the knowledge we're just now unlocking, quantum mechanics, string theory, neural networks, what if it was already within us, waiting to be reactivated? Are we part of the technology? Are we the final pyramid? If aliens came in ancient times, where did they go? Maybe the answer is simple. They didn't leave. Maybe they never intended to. Some theories suggest they went underground into the Earth itself. Others say they retreated to the moon or a base beneath the ocean. Or maybe they're not physical anymore. Maybe they operate on a different frequency and we can't detect yet. After all, our eyes only see a fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum. Our ears hear only a sliver of sound. What else might be around us right now that we're simply not equipped to perceive? The return, or the reveal. Governments around the world are slowly disclosing. Whistleblowers speak of recovered craft, non-human biologics, reverse engineering programs dating back decades. And yet, the public barely blinks. Have we been conditioned? Prepared? Have ancient stories, Hollywood films, even religion itself been setting the stage for a return? Or is it not a return at all, but a reveal? What if they've always been here, guiding from the shadows, nudging us forward, shaping our history? And now, we're finally ready to see them. Final thoughts, questions for the mind and soul. So let's recap. The pyramids hold impossible knowledge. Ancient myths echo across continents. Symbols repeat, winged beings, glowing discs, serpent teachers. Modern sightings confirm they're still around. DNA might not be entirely ours. And global governments are now quietly admitting we're not alone. Which brings us to you. Do you feel it? That pull in your gut? That something bigger is happening? That maybe the stories were always true? That maybe the gods of old never left? Because they were never gods to begin with. They were visitors. And now maybe they're waiting for us to remember. To wake up, to ask the final question, what happens when we build the next pyramid? Will they return, or will we discover they've been standing beside us the whole time? Fade out. Sometimes to look forward, you have to look back, way back. And when you do, don't just ask who built the pyramids, ask what's coming next. Thank you for spending your time with Listen and Imagine. We hope this journey sparked your thoughts and stirred your imagination. If you enjoyed this experience, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and leave a comment to let us know what you think. Your support helps Listen and Imagine continue to grow and bring more stories to life. Until next time, keep listening and keep imagining. Thank you.